So yes, I'm going to talk to you about a bit of careers research and how to gain some work experience. And as Louise says, please put things in the chat, and I will try and get to that at the end and answer any questions you may have as we're going along. First of all, I thought I'd just give a brief introduction about me. So I work at Aston University, and I have done for, gosh, around 14 years now. So I'm a careers consultant with Aston University. Prior to that, I was a graduate recruiter for many years, so I've kind of been on both sides of the table when it comes to graduate recruitment. I worked in the employer team to begin with, so I started working with small and medium-sized businesses around the local area to try and find placement opportunities. And then I really missed working with candidates, and those candidates became students in higher education, and I really liked kind of nurturing young talent. So I worked in the placements team, and then I joined the careers team back in 2014. And then went on to complete a master's in careers management in 2020 in lockdown, which was great, alongside homeschooling 2 children. So that was a challenge. But I now sit very much as part of the central careers team at Aston University, and quite surprising to hear. I know a lot of people are quite surprised. They have an image of careers advisors that sit in an office and just wait for people to come in and have one-to-one careers appointments. Well, we do far more than that at Aston, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But we also teach. So as part of the careers management masters, there was a teaching element in there. So I teach on our pharmacy, audiology, optometry and biomedical engineering courses. So they're the courses that I'm aligned to. And there's my LinkedIn profile. So I've also got strong links and a real passion for developing careers and potential around neurodiverse students as well. So autistic students, students with dyslexia, lots of different kind of pathways as well. So feel free to link in with me if you have any questions as we go through or afterwards, and you want to just ask those to me on LinkedIn, feel free. So this is another surprise that when I deliver open days to prospective students and parents, this is the careers team at Aston. So we're a big team. And actually, you know, I know myself, having children that have come through school and college, that the careers team resources within schools and college, brilliant though they are, they're nowhere near the size of higher education careers teams, because we really scaffold and support students. We have metrics. You only have to look at the Sunday Times rankings and the Guardian rankings to know how important it is that we make sure our students don't just graduate with a really good degree and a gold level standard of teaching, which we have in the TEF, which is equivalent to Ofsted. We've got the sort of gold rating at Aston, but we also make sure that our students come out with the right skills, the right knowledge, to be able to go and get a good job. So in terms of the terminology, that's called graduate outcomes, and there's a lot, we have to get some good positive graduate outcomes. So there's a lot of people to support that within higher education. And I think it's fair to say Aston is a fairly small university with a very big team, so not everybody you see there will be a careers advisor. There's people there that do marketing and events and operations and all sorts of clever things, but it's all around the student journey, making sure people are employable at the other end. So what students can expect from higher education generally, but I can talk from Aston. Students can expect, you know, the one-to-one information, which you would expect, so they can come and book an appointment with us virtually or online, virtually or face-to-face even. And, you know, they can choose that whenever they like. There's a portal they log into just to book an appointment with who they want to speak to at whichever time suits them. We have like the 24/7 careers advisor, as we call it, which is our careers website. That's an open website, so if you wanted to go and have a look at what's there for our students, that's really open. We deliver loads of skills workshops throughout the whole year, both on campus and online. So that's maybe something around how to create a good CV for students who want to apply for placements or work experience. Or it might be something along like having a really nice LinkedIn profile and how to create that. Or it might be a session around how to disclose a disability to an employer. So lots of different workshops all throughout the year. Lots of employer events. If you want to come to Aston in the autumn term, you would see lots and lots of big employers and small employers. everywhere around the university, because that's their recruitment cycle, so they're really keen to get in front of students. So we have lots, and we're really lucky at Aston. We've got a lot of really good employer links. We're renowned for kind of employability and the placement year, so we have a lot of Aston alumni that want to give back as well. So we have lots of people coming back to give guest lectures and insights and many more things, and careers is in the curriculum. So you can't escape careers, and certainly you can't at Aston University. So lots and lots of our degree programmes, there are marked accredited modules around careers and employability, because we know that people sometimes who access the services are not always the people who need them. It's the old adage that people will only come for a careers appointment if they think they know what they want to do, which sort of turns it on its head, really. But so we know that we've got to try and get to everybody, and curriculum is the leveller. Curriculum is where everybody is. So if we're in the curriculum, we know that nobody's missing out. And there's dedicated teams to support students on their placement search. So lots and lots of our courses have the built-in placement year between the second year and the final year. And then when they're out on placement, there's another big team there to support them while they are still students, and they're doing work, they're doing an academic piece of work, but they are in the workplace in the UK and overseas, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And we've got lots of flexible options and a whole job site just for Aston students to make sure that they can get some work experience when they come to university. This is a question I have levelled at me quite a lot from parents and students at Open Days. Is it still worth getting a degree? And what I'll say to that is there are currently more graduate jobs than students graduating. It's competitive, but again, there's a couple of slides on that later. There's still lots and lots of professions and jobs that require a degree. So you'll immediately think of the obvious. You'll maybe think of law or teaching or medicine, but way beyond that, there are so many positions in all sorts of sectors that require a degree. And even if it's not an entry-level position, once you want to become a leader, or you want to, progress, specialise, move on, then you may well find that a degree is necessary for that particular pathway in careers. So you don't know necessarily where you're going to go. We're in a very changing world of work. So a lot of the time, 10 years into your career, you may well then find the degree is necessary for that role. And of course, people can come back to university. Of course, people can. But it's not the same as being an undergraduate when you've come out of college in those first couple of years. By the time you're a mature student, having a degree and being part of university life is very different. Graduates still earn more than non-graduates, so if you're in it for the money, that's another really good reason to get a degree. And that's obviously not for everybody. We know people that are living beautiful high lives with fancy yachts that haven't ever been inside a university. But on average, when you look at the stats, graduates are earning more than non-graduates. But it's more than that. It's more than career prospects. It's more about wages and graduate outcomes. University is 3-4 years of your life where you're going to broaden your horizons. You're going to grow. You're going to get all these fantastic skills and experiences and networking. Aston University has a huge network of students. We have lots and lots of international students, so you're going to be really meeting lots of different people from lots of different walks of life that you may never meet in other circumstances. And if you ask anybody that's been to university sort of 10 years ago, if you ask them what they remember about their university life, they're not going to tell you what their module was in the first year. They're going to tell you about the people they met and the places they went and the things that they did, because that's part of university. And the demand for graduates, the job market is very much on the rise again. So the little table there that's tiny for me, I'm sure it's probably tiny for you too, but that's basically a little line chart, and it tracks sort of from 2008 all the way to 2022 is the last one, because the last report we've got is the 2023, so it goes up to 2022. But it was a higher number of graduates recruited in 2022 that was expected or predicted. We know we're in a bit of a recession. We don't know what that's going to look like, but so far the indications are throughout the pandemic as well, graduate recruitment had that little dip, which you can see in that chart, which should have been 2020, but it soon recovered. The number of graduate jobs on offer in 2022 saw the largest rise in graduate recruitment for more than 15 years. The number of graduate vacancies available is now 16% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Now, I went back and updated these slides from last year, and that figure was 11% last year, so it's 16% this year, so another increase. And graduate salaries, well, they're paying well. You know, an average starting salary is 32,000 for a graduate scheme, with some paying in excess of 50,000. And if you're going to look at those people, you're looking at the investment banks. Although you've got some surprises, people at Aldi pay for their graduate scheme, and it's £47,000, and throw in a nice car as well. And if you're going to go and work in the NHS, you're not going to go anywhere near 32,000 as a starting salary. So that is very much an average. So the current graduate labour market, we're now at a point where we know the demand is bigger than ever, but it's really competitive, and particularly in some sectors. So graduates have got IT, engineering, finance skills. Well, they're particularly sought after at the moment. Lots of employers citing shortages in those areas. The latest ISE, which is the Independent Institute Student Employers, they have an open report that you can go and have a look at again, but they stated the average organisation, and they tend to work with the big players, they tend to work with the Times top 100 graduate recruiters, but they stated the average organisation received 86 applications per vacancy, which was up 23% on last year, so competitive. And surveys, the survey again revealed that jobs in retail, FMCG, tourism, as well as financial and professional services, the most competitive, whereas roles in charities, public sector, built environment are currently the least competitive. So how do they recruit for these roles? Well, they're really competitive, and they put students and graduates through a very long, robust recruitment process. So quite often interviews, assessment centres, psychometric tests, CV screening through applicant tracking systems, application forms. It might be an online interview, there might be a telephone interview, automated video interviews where students get sent a link with a few preloaded questions, and they have to look in a camera, answer it, press submit, and off it goes. Case studies, group presentations. So it's a long process, and they're kind of selecting and filtering out candidates throughout that process. And the same applies when students are applying for placements, particularly in the UK with those big graduate recruiters. It's exactly the same mirrored process, so it's not easy. Employers are looking for, and this is what we know very much though, employers are looking for a mix of academic achievement, but they're also looking for the right skills, the right employability skills. They're looking for students who are passionate, they're looking for students that have got bags of potential, that are really interested and motivated to work for them. And that's, you know, weaved back into the recruitment process, that they've done that really long, robust process. So they're looking for those employability skills, things like team working, being able to solve problems, being able to creatively think around problems, being resilient, coping when things go wrong, dealing with conflict, managing their time. And what do we mean by that? Managing lots of priorities. So not turning up at 9 o'clock and leaving at 5. We're talking there about being thrown lots of different projects and managing and prioritising effectively. Being flexible and adaptable, that's really, really key in the world of work at the moment. IBM will say to their graduates when they join the scheme, please don't get comfortable, because the job that you're doing now, you won't be doing in 3 years, and the job that you're doing in 5 years probably won't exist, or probably doesn't exist right now if you stay with IBM, because things are moving so quickly. Things around leadership, communication skills, digital skills, and that isn't in any order, and that isn't exhaustive. You know, that's it. That's just some of the skills that employers are looking for. They don't hide them. If you only have to go and look at job descriptions, and they're weaved within the job description. There's a little stat there in a box. Again, another surprise to people. 82% of UK employers pay little or no attention to what a student has studied. So what do we mean by that? What we mean is, and I'll give you some examples, when a lot of the graduate schemes, you have to have a degree. Obviously, it's a graduate scheme, but they're open to all degree disciplines. So there's 82%. So there's it's 20% of jobs that are required degrees. Medicine would be the obvious one. That's not open to anybody. You've got to have done a medical degree. Things like chemical engineering, sometimes obviously those sort of technical roles as well will require specific degrees. But if I show you Mars, so this is their supply chain, procurement and supply chain graduate role. We're open to most degree backgrounds. Just to go to the end, personality is more important than technical skills. We can train for those. Therefore, the degree subject is not the leading factor. So this was taken from a webinar with HSBC back in the autumn term when they came to talk to us about what they're looking for. It's not, I just stole this slide from them. It's not about what you've studied, it's what you bring. So, you know, they want someone to be curious, a problem solver. They want someone to have courage, resilience, an open mind, be creative, be able to build relationships, a hunger for new skills and experiences, a sense of right or wrong. Now, how are they going to know that a student or a graduate has got those skills? Well, throughout that recruitment process, whether it's a video interview or as part of the assessment centre or a face-to-face interview or an application form, they'll say, tell us about a time when, give me an example of. So that's when you need to build in the skills. That's when you need to have evidence to sort of scaffold your application. So somebody who's just been academic and got a really good first class honours degree is not necessarily going to be the person who they take forward, because they're more interested about the experiences that you've had. Okay, so if we think about moving on for thinking about our career and whether we do want to go and work for Audi or Goldman Sachs or L'Oreal, or whether we want to go into medicine or chemical engineering or some of the other things that we're thinking about, how do we know? How do we go about choosing our career? Well, there's a theory here called the DOTS theory. That's in the little cycle at the bottom. So it goes along the lines of there's a real process of career development that we can work to. So first of all, it's kind of reflecting on me or the self. What do you want to do? You know, are you a team player? Are you creative? Are you analytical? And from that, you can think, well, what opportunities are there in different roles? So we can have a look at lots and lots of different opportunities and we can explore them. And then we can decide, well, that one looks interesting and that one doesn't. And when we decide on what looks interesting, we can then apply for it. We can research it, find out who's advertising and apply. So that's really simple, isn't it? You know, it's a really good way of finding out about what you want to do. Well, as we know, nothing is simple. And if you ask people how they ended up in their career, it's often very much not that planned, lovely cycle of events. And it's more often a case of planned happenstance, you know, just being in the right place at the right time, or just applying for something and something leading to something else. And that's very much the case for myself. I did my psychology degree, never thought I'd be a careers advisor, but I'm very, very happy I've arrived in this position and I love this career. But if you'd asked me when I was a graduate how that was going to work, I would have certainly not told you I was going to get to be a careers advisor. So really, it's all around, yes, you can have that plan and it's great to know yourself and know your skills and research opportunities, but also you've got to be flexible, you've got to be adaptable, and you've got to be open to change. So there's a whole thing about growth mindset and a fixed mindset. The fixed mindset person will say, I know what I like, and I don't like going out of my comfort zone. I'm not very willing to try new things. I don't like failing. I like being good at stuff. And we're all a bit like that. But try and kind of have a bit more of a growth mindset, you know, accept that failure is actually sometimes quite a good thing and it can help you move on. Actually, just, it might feel a bit uncomfortable, but maybe just ask that question. Maybe just go out to that careers fair, you know, just be open and have that sort of growth mindset around thinking about your career choices. We used to have this career ladder people used to talk about. That's been knocked down. There's a whole scaffolding that's up now instead of a ladder. So people go in all sorts of ways. You know, very, very few people are going to be in the same organisation or certainly in the same sector. And people are moving very, very frequently and fluidly now between different industries and different roles. There's a case of having portfolio careers where some people will have a couple of different jobs at the same time, and that's going to be the new normal. You know, the world of work has been really shaken up over the last few years. And certainly moving forward, that's what employers are telling us. And that kind of adaptability and flexibility is really key to young people being successful. But it's nice, you know, there's lots of ways to access things. You're not going to be, you know, classified as a job hopper if you don't stay for very long. Employers expect people to be moving on and moving upwards and moving across, maybe. I've got a picture here of Harry Potter with his sorting hat on. Remember when Harry Potter puts his hat on and he gets told that he's in Gryffindor? If only that was the case for careers, if only we could put on a nice hat and be told what we should do for the rest of our lives. But we know that life doesn't work like that. And we know there isn't a magic spreadsheet and the careers quiz. There's lots of different things that you can do. They're not scientific enough to tell us what we should be doing. Unfortunately, there is no shortcut to choosing your career. And lots of people, as I say, will just fall into it. But really, if you've got an idea about what you want to go for in a goal, then it's a bit more of a plan rather than just a wish list. So why should our aspirations and expectations be different? People often say, well, I think what I'll do, what I really wanted to do was actually that. Well, go for your aspirations, you know, try and see what's out there. There's so many different ways that you can go. The other thing around it is if we don't know it exists, we can't work towards it. So this is very much, if you ask primary school children what they want to be, they'll say, I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a doctor, or they'll want to be a pharmacist if their mum's a pharmacist, because people see what they know. And it's very hard to be something that you don't know is out there. So, you know, very few of our students when they start maybe would think, oh, I want to be a patent attorney, unless they'd already heard about that career option, or if they'd had somebody come into the talk to do a talk at their school about it. I remember a gentleman coming in to my son's primary school, and he was a rigger, and he came in and did a bit of a talk about being a rigger, and all the children in that year group wanted to be a rigger because that sounded really, really cool. He'd worked with loads of different bands and done lots of rigging for lots of different big events. But, you know, he hadn't come into that primary school in that day. Can guarantee none of the children would have known what a rigger was. So it's all about exploring what's out there as well. So with so many options and career choices available to you, and even as careers advisors, we're never going to know what all the careers are that are out there. There's thousands and thousands. So how do you decide which is the right career for you? Well, let's have a go at making some decisions now, shall we? So I'm going to try and get the chat up. So I'm going to ask you now, if I were to deliver to you a nice cup of tea with some biscuits or a hot chocolate, I wonder what your decision would be. Do you want to give me an A or B in the chat? Hoping you've got the chat function enabled. Oh, yeah. They've got a couple of hot chocolates. An A. Oh, hot chocolate, very, very popular tonight. Okay. Right, so if we're going to, and there's a couple of cups of tea coming in, thank you. Okay, so different question to you. If it's a different soft drink and it's a Fanta or a Coca-Cola, which one would you decide to have? An A and a B. Okay, bit of a split vote there for Fanta and Coke. So, oh, tricky one. A chocolate bar, which one this time? Would we go A for Galaxy or B for Dairy Milk? I'd be a Galaxy, I think. Oh, okay, Dairy Milk, a bit of a split one there as well. So, Friday night, pajamas on, watching TV, or going out partying like crazy? Are you an A or a B? I'm most definitely an A. I think there's quite a few A's coming in. Okay. So, okay, how about this one? Getting a little bit trickier. So your career, are you in it for the money or because of the love of your job? I'm going to say I'm a B. Okay, we've got somebody in it for the money and a couple of B's, an A. Excellent. Okay, one of the right. Okay, so if you're in it for the money, remember investment banking is where you want to be, or with Aldi maybe. Okay, how about lab, scientific work, or corporate world, office based? Budding scientists, a couple of corporate office workers preferences. Okay. So now we've got to think about, we found our ideal job, but it's not on our doorstep and we've got to move to travel. Are you wanting to stay at home, or are you happy to travel wherever you can to get the right job? Quite a lot stay in the West Midlands, or someone's a little bit more adventurous, couple of people that are willing to travel. Excellent. Okay, so these are all decisions that we have to make, whether it's a Fanta or a Coke, or you go to the cafe, and whether it's a cup of tea or a hot chocolate or a coffee. And how do we make those decisions? Well, if I were to give you those two decisions to make, an A or a B, with an unknown in both of those, it's really, really hard. That's just purely based on guesswork, isn't it? And it's really hard to make a decision when you don't know what the options are. And in fact, it's much easier to make a decision when you've had experience, because I would probably, put money on the fact that we've all had a Fanta or a Coca-Cola. So actually, that's really easy because we know which one we prefer. We've tried both of them, so we know which one is the right one for us. We know which way we want to go in that particular moment. So it's a little bit like careers, which is where I'm going to bring you back to for this one, in case you wondered where I was going. So finding out kind of what's out there. Once you know what's out there, it's much, much easier to make that decision. And how do we know what's out there? Well, we can get away with sort of doing some research as well, and finding different ideas around careers, experiencing some things. So work experience is a really nice way. So if you know that you want to work in healthcare, and you can kind of shadow a pharmacist or an optometrist, or in a GP surgery, or do lots of different ways now, maybe volunteering in a hospital environment, just to find out kind of if that environment interests you, then that's a really nice way of being able to kind of narrow down your career options. Doing a bit of work shadowing in a legal firm, if you're thinking about law, all those sorts of things. It's a really nice way to be able to get an insight into that career. And there's lots of other ways of finding out about different careers that you might be interested in. YouTube has got a myriad of different videos. You can just Google and find them. Lots of things on company websites, lots of companies like I'm trying to think of some of the websites now, PwC and some of those companies that have lots of career stories on their website. We have lots of career stories on our website, lots of blogs, lots of podcasts, lots of different ways for you to access that information. Lots of companies will offer insight days, particularly for students, sort of 16 to 18. So career days is one website I can think of. SpringPod, I think I've got some of these on a slide for you later. So lots of kind of virtual work experience, lots of actual insight days as well. And the National Careers Service has got some really nice ways of exploring careers. icould.com is a lovely website which has, again, lots and lots of different career stories on there that you can go and have a look at. So you could type in clinical psychologist, for instance, and it would have somebody saying, my day role as a clinical psychologist, this is what it looks like, this is what I get involved with. UCAS has lots of fine careers ideas. Prospects is a really lovely website that I use lots with students in one-to-one appointments. So Prospects, possibly more aimed at higher education, but it's really good for researching. So they have loads of different job profiles. So if you want to know what a biomedical engineer does, you could enter that in as a job profile, and it will tell you a little bit about the job, what you have to do to train, what the entry requirements are, all the different universities that would offer that degree option, what the entry requirements are, what the skills are, and lots of links to related careers as well. So Prospects is a nice one. And the NHS, I've just popped that one on there as well, just because my role, as I said, is quite linked to healthcare. So I know that the Health Careers website for the NHS is brilliant. and they've got the Find Your Career. So there's over 350 careers within the NHS alone, and there's a really nice quiz that you can do on the NHS website. But beyond that, there are lots of links. Again, there's no magic sorting hat, there's no magic spreadsheet or quiz that's going to tell you exactly what you should be doing, but more so just, you know, it's that kind of what I went back to, thinking about what you know. So the more you know, the more you know. Talk to people, absolutely, research careers, speak to your, you know, your parents, careers advisors that you have available to you within your school, the National Careers Service. You might have friends' parents who do something which sounds quite interesting. Go and have a chat with them, maybe your neighbours, family, friends, teachers. You might be surprised actually how big your network is once you start asking the questions and trying to research that as well. LinkedIn is a really powerful kind of social media, professional social media website where you can have a look at lots of different people as well. There's loads of fairs, loads of careers fairs that you can wander around, talk to people, gain ideas around what's out there, what might be of interest. There's a little link there to the youthemployment.org.uk, and that's kind of lists all of the careers fairs. Now, some might be on your doorstep, like the Big Bang that's happening again in June. That's a really nice STEM careers fair, lots of experiments and things that go on within science and engineering. Some that maybe not quite so close to you, but there's lots around. We're really lucky being based in the West Midlands because there are lots and lots of venues and lots of career events that take place, so you're really, really well placed. And actually, like I say, quite a lot of these are online. So I know the NHS again do lots of Facebook takeovers and lots of webinars about different careers in the NHS, and they're very happy for students to be putting things in the chat and asking questions. So again, thinking about your career, sometimes it doesn't have to be that DOTS model. It doesn't have to be anything amazingly intellectual to think about careers. Just thinking about what you like doing, you know, break it down. Your career is going to be something that you've got to do, and you might be working for 10, 20, 30, 40 scary years ahead of you. So you want to be doing something that you're good at and you enjoy, and sometimes getting the right career is as simple as just realizing what you enjoy doing. What is it that you do that energizes you? You know, some people love doing data. I always use this example. I've got friends who love a spreadsheet. You know, they will absolutely relish the idea of putting together a spreadsheet, and they'll use that whenever they possibly can. For me, I hate data. It's something I have to do. I have to do it for the Graduate Outcomes Survey. I have to look at all sorts of labour market intelligence, and I have to bring together student demographics and all sorts of things. If I have to do it and I have to do the report, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be the thing that falls off my to-do list until I'm up against it, because I'll always do the things that I really want to do first, like this, and like speaking to students and going out and doing careers fairs, because that's the sort of stuff that I really like. I really like speaking to people and, you know, talking around careers. I love the teaching element at Aston. I love supporting students with their career journeys and mock interviews and all sorts of things like that. Data, not so much. But, you know, that's why I wouldn't then go and choose a job where I'm a data manager. But for friends who love spreadsheets, then that might be something they would like to have a look at. So think about what energizes you and what you like doing. What do you put off? You know, are you a writer? Do you enjoy writing? Do you like presenting? Are you kind of into solving problems? I know my son is he's very dyslexic, but he's a real problem solver. You know, he doesn't want to read necessarily, a reluctant reader, I think they classified him as, but he's much more of a doer. He's really practical. You know, you might be somebody that loves IT or art or sport, or think about your own skills, your own strengths. Strengths and skills are different things. Skills, I can learn how to do an Excel spreadsheet. I'm all right at it, and I can put it on as a skill on my CV. Would it be a strength? Absolutely not, because like I say, that drains you. So think about your strengths as well as your skills. Think about you and your friendship group. Are you somebody that organises everything? Are you somebody that's quite diplomatic? Are you quite a caring, empathetic person? Are you someone that, you know, leads takes control of it? Are you somebody that is kind of thinking of the ideas? Are you the entrepreneur? Are you the decision maker? Think about who you are naturally as a person. And of course we grow, of course we change, but some of those things are just a really nice base to be able to think about some of the careers that lean more to those skills and strengths. Start building your skills. It's never too early. You know, as soon as you get to university, we're saying to our students, you can't avoid us, we're in the curriculum, but also you need to go out and do something else, because getting a good degree is no longer your passport to getting a good job, because you've got to go through that robust recruitment system, and they are going to filter and they're going to take on people who've got the additional skills and can evidence it. So for you, start building those now and start doing stuff that you enjoy doing. You know, it might be being prefect, it might be doing a drama, it might be being part of a sports leadership program, you might have done internships already, you might have kind of done a bit of work shadowing, you might have reached out, you might have done DofE. SpringPod is that website where it has quite a lot of virtual internships that you can look at, scouting, getting involved in being a mentor, working part-time, you know, packed with employability skills. Even if you're working in a shop or in hospitality, you're going to get lots of experience working as part of a team, you know, resolving problems, dealing with rude people. Your communication skills are going to be developing, your confidence is going to be developing. Volunteering is just, if you can't do anything else, volunteer, because volunteering is just such an easy win. You can do something which is really interesting, something that maybe means quite a lot to you personally, something you'll enjoy, but you do it when you want to do it. So there are so many different ways you can volunteer locally, online, you can go overseas, you can do all sorts of exciting things when you're volunteering. And you can always, however many hours you do, it's always going to be on your CV. It's always going to be something you can talk about in personal statements as well. So like all the other things on there, but if you can't do any of the other things, you know, have a go at volunteering, as that's a really nice step forward into gaining some of those skills. And as I say, when you come to university, if that's your path going forward and you go to uni, and certainly if you come to Aston, I've given you a bit of a flavour, we're not going to let you get away without doing those things. But equally, try and kind of do something alongside your studies, some part-time work, maybe being student ambassador or course rep for your programme. Volunteering at uni, at Aston, we have lots of different sites and links with different charities and organisations, with lots of kind of mentoring, lots of tutoring as well. So clubs and societies, just do something. These are brilliant things to do at university as well, because if you're on an academic programme but you want to do something with a society, there's a trip society that I saw as I was walking through the corridors earlier, so that was a new one. They just want to go on trips. They just set up a trip society, so everyone joins and they decide where they're going to go, and they set up a trip once a term to take people out and go and do something exciting. So lots of really lovely things to do, lots of enterprise, but also very much the placement, and the placement year is key to, I think, our success at Aston University. So we're runner-up in sort of graduate experience and graduate employability, and I think it's really it's down to the placement and the placement year at Aston, which is integral to what we are and the life and soul of Aston University. So lots of different placement options at Aston over the summer and for that long placement year as well. So I've got a video here, but I will play that out at the end if we've got time, I think. You probably know Gymshark. So Gymshark was set up by Ben. Ben's an Aston, was at Aston and went on to set up Gymshark, and now he's great, and he comes back and gives back quite a lot. So we have lots of placement students and lots of internships happening at Gymshark. But this is some photos from some of our other placement students who have been out on placement over the last couple of years, just to give you an idea about what students do on their year of placement. So this is Megan. She was doing business and management, and she went out to work as a recruitment officer for hearing dogs for deaf people in the UK. So this is Renato. He was doing accounting and finance and came to work with us in the careers and placements team and was a placement assistant with us. Now, that wouldn't have been his first choice. but he struggled to find a placement for personal reasons. So he came to us, and actually we saw him flourish. He was absolutely brilliant, and he's busy in his final year applying for graduate schemes as well at the moment. This is Amit. He did economics and management and went on a study abroad. So that's an option for you as well. You don't have to just work in the UK or overseas. You can do a study abroad with one of our partner universities. So he went over to a university that we partner with in Italy. This is Amy, who did BEng design engineering, and she worked as a design engineer for ASM Systems. Esmond, he was mechanical engineering, and he went and worked as a mechanical engineer for EMR. This is Yasmin. She did business and politics and stayed in a paid placement, actually, very well paid placement with our SU, and she was SU coordinator and did lots of exciting award ceremonies and all sorts of things. This is Asid Khan, rather. He was computing science, and he went out to Korea to do a study placement. Salman, who was doing marketing, and he went to work for Crossrail in London. So he was a communications intern, not always wearing a hard hat, but that was his photo that he sent in. This is Rachel, who did politics and economics. Now, that's not a degree that you would necessarily think should have gone and worked for Airbus, but every year Airbus have a political affairs intern role that they kind of ring fence for us at Aston. So that's something that comes in that's really nice. Talal went out and did he was doing politics and international relations, and he did the split placements. So he went out half the year and worked as an intern at the embassy of Bahrain in Brussels, and he went then for a study placement and studied at partner university in Singapore for the other half of the year. Miss Beverly, she was doing business and management and went out to work for Nike, but Nike have got obviously, like lots of companies, lots of different offices all over the world, and she ended up working at Nike in the Netherlands. This is Deepa. Deepa was studying law and again did a split placement. So she did half the year at the Citizens Advice Bureau in Ilford, and half the year she went out to a partner university and studied out in Brazil. No prizes for guessing where the photo is. It's not Ilford. So lots and lots of different opportunities. Our students go out and do some fantastic things across the country and across the world in all sorts of fantastic placement roles. And there's so many benefits of gaining that work experience. And that goes beyond work experience, I think, the placement year, because they're not work experience. Most of the time it's paid placements where they're doing real jobs in real companies. They are getting those real examples that they can evidence, lots of transferable skills, lots of work-based skills. Often they're getting a really good try before you buy, a really good insight into maybe the sector that they want to go in. And more so than that, they're getting an insight into sectors that they wouldn't have known about. So some of these placement years are kind of rotational. So you might think, oh, I really like marketing. And then in that year, you start working in the corporate social responsibility or the operations kind of area. And actually, that sounded really boring, but actually that was the bit I really enjoyed. The placement and work experience is often flexible, so you can fit it around other commitments. It's often paid, so that's quite nice for students to have some money in their back pocket. And of course, they're widening their network and their professional contacts as well. About a third of our students who go on placement will be offered their graduate job with their placement provider. And it's just fantastic work experience to have on your CV. And of course, it really makes you stand out from the crowd. So other reasons why you as a student body should be, going out there and doing all of those things, whether it's internships or work shadowing or volunteering or extracurricular activities, just something that's a little bit different from everybody else. So if you want to know more about some of the things that our students get involved with, there's loads of different blogs around placements and graduate work and volunteering and all sorts of things written by every single student from lots of different degree programs every single year of study. And that again is an open web address there that you can have a look into. So if you wanted to go and have a look at that afterwards, please feel free to do so. But yeah, just to summarise, really, start exploring. And you can do that as simply as looking on your phone. You know, you don't have to necessarily go out to any scary breakfast networking events, but just start having a think about what's on there. Just start going down a bit of a rabbit hole, thinking about you know, your own skills, your own strengths, and what's out there already. Start getting involved, start building those transferable skills. Think about what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. Academic grades are really important. Of course they are. Employers will always look at your academic grades on application forms, but you do need to start standing out a little bit as well. And like I say, just going and getting a fantastic degree and being the best academically is not anymore a passport sort of to a successful career. So it's really important to go out there and start developing your own skills and your own confidence outside of academia. So I think that's it from me this evening. I don't know if we've got any questions that have come in the chat at all, or if you'd like to ask me anything.
Thank you so much, Claire. Students and parents, if you'd like to put anything in the chat that you'd like to ask Claire, then please do so. And meanwhile, whilst we're just waiting for anybody to put anything in, just wanted to refer back to a few of the things that you've said. And I think from a careers advisor perspective, there's so many of the messages that we are continually giving to students about putting that sort of, you know, using that motivation to actually put yourself out there a little bit more other than your academic studies, and gather those opportunities that are out there, whether that be virtual or whether it be in person, to extend your capabilities, connections, those soft skills we call them, but actually they're now just the really essential skills, aren't they, Claire?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it used to be a nice to have, whereas now it's you have to have them, you know. And
absolutely. And actually, and thank you to Faye, she's putting some links in there for students, and we will send these round afterwards as well. But from what you've said there, and also from what Faye and I've been experiencing as we've been going around recently to some of the careers fairs, a lot of the modern technology can do some of the knowledge part of it. What they can't do, and you can't replicate with technology or AI or anything like that, is those interpersonal communication skills, those skills that actually give you the ability to translate and speak to people about the business aspect of things.
yeah, absolutely. They call it future-proof skills nowadays. So,
Yeah.
you know, AI is very, very clever, and it's only going to get clever, and it's quite scarily clever, isn't it? But
it is.
You know, what it's not going to be able, it's very good at picking up patterns, and we encourage our students to use Chat GPT and all the other technologies that are coming out. So we've got to embrace it. Equally, they're really clever, but there's no free thought there. There's no creative thought behind it, and that's where you as students are going to be the life and soul of businesses going forward. So, you know, you're going to be working with a team, and you're going to have emotional intelligence about dealing with different people and understanding different people's learning styles and dealing with conflict and all sorts of things that AI can't do. You know, you can, as individuals, you can be terribly creative and think outside the box, and AI is just following patterns and just picking up what's already there, whereas you are creative new thinkers. So you've got to kind of embrace that as well to future-proof yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Claire. And I know that Faye's been putting some links in the chat for parents as well as for students. And there's some great information out there on sort of, I think, supporting your child through making some of these decisions. And I like the concept of the squiggly career, because I think these days nobody has that sort of linear career, those step ladders, as you said. It is very much that scaffold of building, and you might come back to some of those skills a lot later on in your career, a bit like doing the degree. But obviously we're encouraging students to research all of those options, whether that be going to university. And Faye and I spent quite a bit of time at Aston not so long ago at the Careers Advisor Conference, and I know she'll back me up on this. We were so impressed with the model that you have, and actually for the degree apprenticeships as well, those students who find employment and go and are connected to Aston for their learning. It's a very exciting place to be studying and learning and being a student, whether that be through an apprenticeship or through a normal undergraduate 3 or 4 year programme. So we're not getting any questions at the moment in the chat. I think you've covered so much comprehensively, Claire, but what we will do is we'll send round this recording, and we'll also send round your presentation if we may, and then if anybody has any questions they can send those to careers@keds.ac.uk, whether that be parents or students. Also, this is part of our National Careers Week programme of events, and we're continuing on Thursday. We've got Barclays Bank van, Money Matters on the premises, and we've got an evening webinar from 5 till 6, which will be talking literally about sort of life skills and budgeting, which comes in really handy for going to university, as well as for obviously whatever career path and choices you make. And then we've done a work experience workshop today, but each day we're putting out emails with links, new creative jobs that are coming online, and a lot of information, hopefully, which is giving an insight into opportunities for researching, graduate opportunities, and obviously other research for work experience as well. We hope you've very much enjoyed this evening's talk, and thank you to Claire, as always, so comprehensive, and we just encouraging students to just literally put themselves out there and take up some opportunities. So thank you, Claire, thank you very much indeed. And we hope that you've enjoyed this evening's talk, and we'll send round a link to the recording as soon as we have that live. Claire, thank you very much indeed, and I wish everybody a happy evening and a good rest of National Careers Week. Thank you.